Hello guys, felt like doing another video today before I went to bed, so that's what I'm doing. Today I'm going to talk about how to start a band. Again, not a lot of videos on YouTube talking about this, so I figured I'd speak about it, my experience starting a band, finding bandmates, and the whole process, because it ends up being a lot harder than it should have been. But hopefully some of you guys see this whenever you're interested in starting something up, and you don't make the same mistakes, or you don't be one of the mistakes. So, first off, the instrument that you play. Now I play the bass, guitar, and you obviously have to be a certain point, be past a certain point to feel confident to play in front of other people. So in my case, I played the bass for about 2 years before I finally felt comfortable to play with others. And I mean, depends on what instrument you play, depends on what you're playing, what you have in mind. So it's gonna take a while. Obviously, depending on the instrument you play, I play the bass, so there's really not much I can do by myself. Like if I played guitar or piano, you can go off on your own and do whatever you want. Bass is kind of a supporting instrument, so you kind of need other people. So obviously, I played that for 2 years before I finally felt like, all right, I can be a productive member in a band. So that's the first thing you have to keep in mind: how good you're playing it. Okay, so you're finally good enough to play your instrument, right? Now, how popular is your instrument? Okay, that's another big issue. So here's the way I see it. For every 50 singers, there's 25 guitarists, 5 bassists, and 1 drummer. Okay? You can find plenty of people who sing or say they sing. You can find plenty of guitarists, because that's obviously one of the most popular instruments, right up there with piano. But I mean, if you play a harder instrument, well, I wouldn't say harder, just not as popular, like the bass and drums, you're going to have more options available to you. So I'd say I have a lot more options compared to a guitarist when I initially started looking, because it's like, oh, this guy plays guitar, this guy plays guitar, oh, we don't have a drummer, we don't have a bassist. In my personal scenario, it took us the longest to find the drummer, and who knows if I didn't play the bass, who knows how long I would have been. And we're talking about real bassists too, not just guitarists who pick up the bass because they're failed guitarists or whatever reason. We're talking about legit bass guitarists. So again, you have options. If you have options, you could be more picky. But if you're a guitarist or if you're a singer, you should kind of be a bit more open-minded. And that goes into my next point, which is, okay, you have an idea of what you want your band to be, right? Lower that. Alright? When I first started out, I actually wanted to create a block party cover band. And that just utterly failed. It's completely failed. Just because, you're gonna have a hard time finding people who are very specific in your interests. Case in point, with my band in particular, at one point we were considering adding a second guitarist, so I looked around, and on Craigslist there was this guy, and he was always like, he wanted to create some reggae band. He was always, every week his guy would post his ad, oh, I want to create a reggae band, blah 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 blah, every week for months on end. So then one day I finally reached out to him. I was like, hey, we're a cover band, we do like pop and top 40 stuff like that, modern rock, but we're open to do reggae as well. We'll do reggae for you when you do top 40 for us. And he said no. Now, think about it. I mean, you have something going on right there. You're not going anywhere with this reggae thing. This guy offers to, work 50-50 with you, and you're going to say no. It doesn't really make sense. And I mean, from what I remember, this guy was looking up was still posting that ad on Craigslist for a couple more months, and then he just stopped. So I really doubt he found something, because it's hard enough finding musicians. So yes, on that tangent, finding musicians. Now, I know it's going to be tempting. I know it's what a lot of you are going to do if it's available, if you have the option. But I really do not recommend starting a band with friends. Okay? I started a band, my band, with two people that I personally knew, two friends of mine. The singer and the guitarist. Singer and I are still in it together, but our guitarist, we had a falling out, really. I mean, we're still friends, but it's kind of like, it always lingers in the back of our minds, like this happened. It's just, musically, he wasn't in tune in tune with us. You know, he had different ideas of what the band should be. He was kind of bossy, and it just, yeah, okay, buddy, you're a good guitarist, but your attitude sucks. And so I had to kick him out. And you know, there's one thing kicking out someone that's not really your friend, but kicking out a friend that you've known for years, that can be kind of tough, and it can create drama. So I really don't recommend it. I mean, it could be very tempting, because it's like, oh, I know this guy, we get along great, but musically you guys can be completely different. There just could be 101 things, and kicking someone out of the band is never easy. I've had to do it twice, and I mean, that time was a lot harder than the other time I had to kick the other person out of the band. So I think it's really, if you can, find complete strangers, and then with complete strangers, it's the music first, it's friendship second. That's how it always works out. And if it doesn't work out, no hard feelings, we all move on. That's what happened with the second guitarist. We weren't really friends, so when we had our falling out, it was like, alright dude, you know, it's a pleasure, you know, take it easy. You know, it wasn't, I didn't end on a hard point. I mean, if he ever called me and he wanted to play, I'd say sure, why not, you know. But yeah, avoid friends if you can. Where to find musicians? That's another thing. Alright, so like I said, it's hard enough to find musicians. Craigslist, honestly, 50-50, but it really is your best bet. I mean, you can go to like Guitar Center and post like flyers and stuff, but you don't really succeed that way. I haven't had any success with that. People have talked about word of mouth, like going to shows and stuff. To me, that's poaching, basically, because you're looking at other bands, you're like, oh, come join my band. That's poaching. That's kind of sleazy. You know, if you end up making it somewhere, you know, and you're gonna have a reputation behind you that you steal people's bandmates, and you know, it's just never a classy thing to do. So I mean, what I did was that I asked around, like I asked a ton of people around, but you know, I never like went to shows and stuff trying to take their guitars or drummers or whatever. But people actually legitimately do this. And this was actually another reason why I had to kick the second guitarist out of the band. But Craigslist is good. Message boards, like guitar, ultimateguitar.com, whatever that website is. Talk bass. I'm the bassist, so I didn't need to worry about that. But they have like classified ads that'd be like, oh, you know, I live in New Jersey, want to start a band, you know. And that's where I've had the most success, and that's pretty much, excluding the singer and myself, that's how I found my guitarist and my drummer. Alright, understanding the direction of the band and being open-minded. So this goes back into the reggae guy, you know. He wasn't open-minded to the idea of doing stuff that he wasn't comfortable with. And in this business, you need to be. Alright? I'm not talking about being professional. I'm talking about doing this like at a bar, fun and everything. Maybe getting some cash on the side. But we're not talking about like being on MTV and stuff. You know? Like, if you're on MTV and you're talking to me, that buddy, you're not going to make it. You know? But that being said, you should discuss, when you're talking to people, you should discuss the rest of the band. Because, and you need to be clear with these people. Because there's a lot of flakes. A lot of musicians are flakes. I really don't know why, but I feel like they're higher in the flakiness than the majority of Americans. Because because I've spoken to people, grown people, like 40-year-old men, like double my age, and I say to them, this is the songs we want to do. What songs do you want to do? That's cool. Well, we can add that to our list. Alright, when you come audition, learn these songs, and then we'll learn these songs. So, I'll learn their songs, and then literally the day of, they'll send me a text message. I'm not feeling the songs, man. I'm sorry. No, you're not sorry, because you waited till the last minute. So you're gonna deal with a lot of scumbags, a lot of flakes who just, gonna wait for the right thing, and it's never gonna happen. So you have to be open-minded. You have to be clear with these people. If you say we're gonna do this Incubus song, and they say we don't like Incubus, try to reason with them, buddy. You don't like Incubus? Cool. We can do Incubus plus Korn. I don't know. You like Korn? Cool. We'll do Korn. I don't like Korn, but I'll do it for you, and then you can do Incubus. If they're open-minded to that, cool. If they're not, don't. Just kind of be like, alright, man, good luck. That's it. You're not going to find anything, but good luck. Because trust me, they didn't make it. Okay, so you finally found your bandmates. Cool. Now you got to figure out practice times and where you're going to practice. Now, yeah, this is very important. So, obviously, the safest bet is the drummer's house, because the drummer carrying guitar or bass versus carrying the drum set is very time consuming. I've had practice and the drummer has brought stuff to my house a couple times, and it's just very time consuming. So we usually do it at the drummer's place. I mean, think about it. If the guy has a drum set, chances are he's got a garage or he's got some room, versus myself, which is basically a couple rooms to practice my bass on, Saying if it's times, actually that's not gonna work. I'm gonna be a little too short. Times, set times. This is the thing. When you first meet, you gotta set time and you gotta consist with those times. Do not change the days or anything. For my case, I said Thursdays and Sundays. All right, and we keep that almost every week. It's Thursdays and Sundays. All right. Don't change it because people get confused. There was that one time where we kept switching times of Sundays. It would be Sunday at 1 or Sunday at noon. People would be confused and people wouldn't show up on time. It just became an issue. So you have to keep it consistent, because people got a lot of things going on, besides playing. So you just gotta keep it consistent so they know. All right, Sunday at 1 p.m. I gotta be at band practice. Cool. Now, the songs. Okay? Knowing the songs beforehand. Practicing with the band is so that everyone has their parts together. But you need to have your part down beforehand. That's a given. Okay? Because you're basically you're doing double the work. You're learning your part, then you're learning to work with the other musicians, okay? And I learned this firsthand, because when I first started playing with other people, I was like, oh, I can learn this with others. But it can be a little confusing, because sometimes people add their own little riffs to it. I know as a bass player, I'm always changing things up a little bit, and I keep it going. But it's like if they were listening to what I'm doing, and they're like, wait, what's he doing? Blah blah blah. They might get confused, and it might just create a mess. So you need to know your song beforehand. You need to make it work, so that if there's issues when you do play as a band, you can address that problem quickly. So case in point, hey guys, sorry about that. My camera battery died, and basically it was nighttime, so I wanted to go to bed. So I just recharged my camera in the morning, and I'm just finishing up the video. But anyway, what I was saying, case in point, there's this one song, Incubus Drive, and we, it's 4 of us, but that the band has a DJ too. So there's this part where a DJ is just a DJ scratching. If you ever listen to Drive, you know what I'm talking about. They're just scratching, but we didn't really have anything we don't have a DJ, so I had to create something. Now what happens is though is that the drummer has to basically come in after the DJ. So, you know, because he didn't he's used to hearing that instead of hearing the bass, he'd be confused. You know, but whereas if he knew the part beforehand, it wouldn't have been an issue because he's like, all right, I know, he knows Yassine's, you know, replacing the DJ. He's with his little bass, so now I know what to do. Blah 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 blah. Here's the point. So it's just a good thing to know the song beforehand. You know. Whew. Okay. Well, where should I go next with this? Okay. I'll go into age. I know everybody wants to be young forever. But what you'll find a lot of times is that young people don't really play instruments anymore. I've yet to meet anyone my age. I'm currently 24. I've yet to meet anyone who isn't older than 30 who is a bass player. I'm the youngest bass player I know. Like, a lot of people don't just play instruments. I mean, I don't know. I guess it's just a trend. You know, people get lazy or whatever. You know, they'd much rather be a DJ. I mean, think about it. Back in the day, weddings would have wedding bands, and now weddings have DJs. So maybe it's just one of those concepts. You know, it's just, when you think about it, if you're at a bar, it's easier to purchase a DJ versus purchasing a band and everything. I mean, bands, I want to say more high class. But with that being said, if you're young, you're gonna have to work with older people. I mean, I'll admit, when I first started, I was like, well, I prefer to play with people my age, and I really wanted to, but it came to a point where I was like, okay, you know, it's not gonna happen. I have to look up other people, and our drummer's actually, I'm 24, our drummer's 45, yeah, and our singer's actually, she just turned 19, so she was, you know, 18, just barely an adult. So obviously, you know, I would have preferred to find people in the 20s, you know, mid-20s, but it's hard to find. It's hard to find people, so it's another example of you can't be too picky. And I mean, honestly, older people probably play better too, so, you know, they've been playing longer. And if they're at that age, you know, if they have a kid and they're still playing, you know, chances are they're pretty dedicated. Versus, you know, a 15-year-old who just has, it's his current fancies playing guitar or whatever, you know, and then the next thing you know, it's like, oh, I'm not interested in guitar anymore. I want to play soccer or hang with my girlfriend or whatever, you know. So yeah, I know it might be kind of weird playing with a 60-year-old for some people, but I mean, this is for adults more than kids. But I mean, if you're 18, like, get over it. Like, you're an adult now. So 18 to 100 or whatever, 18 plus, you're an adult. Get over the age thing, you know. Whew. All right. Get into performing live in front of other people. Now, a lot of people have stage fright, and you'll be surprised. I mean, I never really had the problem, but I know other people have, and it's kind of hard to deal with. With that being said, your first couple of shows are probably gonna suck. I mean, my idea was to have it format open mic, so it's kind of like, it's not really judging. And I mean, that works for some people, it doesn't work for others. It's kind of a base by base. Know your bandmates, basically. Know, you know, their comfort level. Like my, you know, not naming names in case you guys are watching, but I work with some people more, and I get on some people's case more than others, just because I know they need that extra nudge, so that when we do perform live, they are confident in what they're doing. You know, you just have to make them comfortable, basically. You know, you have to get the mood, set the mood, you know? Let's see. And I guess that's another thing, like, know the experience of how experienced each musician is. With my band in particular, I would say that some people play better than others. I think our guitarist is the best player. I think I'm not gonna go there. You know what? I'm not gonna. Nah, not good. I say the guitarist is the best player. I'd say I'm the most consistent because I actually know. I come there knowing what I do, even though I would say I'm still fairly new to the game. I'd say our singer has potential. She just needs to work a bit more on it. I'd say our drummer, if he had more, it's similar. If he had more time, you know, if he dedicated more time to it, he could be an amazing drummer. You know, if you're watching this video, you should be pricing the drums right now. But yeah, it's you know, get to know their level, you know, and see who you got to work with more. You know, I personally, like, I've worked with people individually, like excluding band practice, you know, Thursdays, Sundays band practice, but like be like, all right, it'll be a Saturday, be like, all right, I'm gonna go to your house and you and I are just gonna work together. That's always a good idea to throw out there just to get everyone better. Whew, yeah. Don't worry, almost done, almost done. Okay, this one's kind of random, but I mean, I think some people, a lot of musicians have egos, so some of them will be judgmental on this, but actually knowing music. So I'll be the first to admit I don't really know much about music theory. When I finally started playing with other people, I kind of didn't know. I really didn't know much. I mean, I know a lot now. But back then, someone would say to me, "All right, play in G." I would have been like, "Oh," you know, like I would have had to look at a cheat sheet or something. Nowadays, like, oh, G, okay, boom, third fret on the E string, you know. But but you know, some people, like, they study music and they have this mentality that, oh, everyone should know this, otherwise they're not good, you know, otherwise they're not capable. And I mean, yeah, man, that's cool and all if you want to go pro. Now, you know, who knows, maybe you will go pro, but honestly, when you first start out, it should be more for fun and then see where it goes from there, because a lot of people in the music business, you know, it's pretty cutthroat. So, knowing music and everything, knowing your chords, knowing scales, once you get serious with it, if you start getting really serious with it, like I am at that point where I'm starting to learn scales just to understand, you know, how to make the bass sound better in songs and such. I don't think it's really necessary. I mean, I'm in a cover band, so it's not as hard as creating original music per se. So that's, I guess this is more for, you know, original bands than anything else. But knowing music when you're first starting out, I wouldn't say is top priority. You will eventually, if you're serious about it, you will eventually touch it. You know, I didn't know how to read sheet music for the longest time, and then, you know, finally one day it became a point where I needed to know sheet music, so I learned sheet music. You'll get there, but knowing it when you're first starting out isn't the top priority. I mean, that's what tabs are for. Tabs are basically cheat sheets, and if you want to sound nice, good. You know, I didn't know. I knew tabs for the longest time. You know, I didn't know G, C. I didn't know anything about music. I just knew the tabs, and I played just fine. Okay, last 2 points and call it a day. Kicking someone out. I've talked about this before. There comes a time where people are not pulling their weight, and you need to kick them out. Like I said, it's good if it's not a friend, personal friend. I mean, granted, if you're playing a band, you probably will become friends at certain points. I would consider everyone in my band a friend. But, you know, there comes a time where you just have to kick someone out. And I mean, always, I would honestly try to do some sort of 3 strikes rule. You know, just talk to them individually, then talk to them as a group, and then talk to them and say, alright man, this is the last straw. Continues, kick them out. I guess I'll talk about it with my friend. I spoke to him initially. I said, we don't really feel comfortable. We feel like you're wasting band practice going on your little tangents. Because, well, in my case scenario, we'll be practicing, and then afterwards he would waste 10 minutes showing us his little like little riffs or whatever. I don't know what he would call it. Which, I mean, alright, cool, man, that's impressive, but you're doing the same thing every single band practice, wasting 10 minutes. It's just kind of repetitive. And I mean, there were times where legit he would stop to look on check his fantasy league, because, you know, we practice Sundays, football's on, and it would just take too much time, and we wouldn't really get anything done. So I spoke to him individually. Then it got to a point where we all spoke to him. Well, yeah, we all got together and said we don't feel comfortable with this. And then we didn't, and it just didn't work out at the end, and then you had to kick him out. Try to keep it nice. I mean, try to end it on a good point. I mean, I could have ended it very badly with that scenario. I could have just said some very mean things, and it would not have been a lie what I said to him. But just try not to burn bridges. That's really how it is. And the last bit is, if you, well, I don't really know much about this, but leaving a band. I mean, if you ever feel like it's a waste of time, I would seriously recommend letting them know, like, hey guys, I really want to leave the band, and I would give them some time. Don't just abruptly leave. That's a chump move right there. Give them time to find a replacement, So be like, all right, hey guys, I want to leave. I'll stay with you for one more month so we can perform at the bars or whatever, learn the songs. But after that month, and you guys can try to find another bass player within the month. That's reasonable for everybody, and then it's reasonable for them because it gives them adequate time. And I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe things will change. Maybe you will change your mind. You know what? It was a stupid idea. Like, I don't know. Sometimes I wonder with my second guitarist, because he was really good. I kind of was upset losing him, but I knew it was going to happen just because, he was good, but he wanted to get to the majors without working at the minors type of thing. And so we knew he would try to find something, but I kind of get the feeling that he never found anything. I haven't talked to him, but I just get that feeling. And it's if he hadn't left as he did. I mean, we had spoken about it before, but it did ended up being very abrupt. I kind of wish that if he had decided to stuck through the rough times, then he would have had something good. See, what a problem is that, and you'll see this a lot of times on Craigslist. You'll find people they'll say experienced guitarists looking for working cover bands. They don't want to put in the work to create a band. They just want to jump on the bandwagon. You're gonna find that a lot. You know what? And that's kind of what happened there. And it sucks, but give them adequate time to find a replacement and see where it goes from there. Okay, so that's all I really got to say about that. I mean, I hope if you guys ever create a band, your own band, keep this in mind, because you're going to meet a lot of people, a lot of flakes, a lot of very rude people. I've worked with plenty of rude people in the past, who think they're Jimi Hendrix reincarnated, and yeah, you're good, buddy, but I have a band.